Lobster Magnet. Lobster's a 10, I told you grab it. Wubba lubba dub dub. This is the weirdest episode of this review of the belated Rick and Morty you're ever going to see. There's no Dan the Garbage Man. He had other shit to do, and I was like, let's do it. Good old Zavul is hiding because he's decided to pay tribute to Hugh Hefner and is just walking around in a bathrobe all day in a smoking jacket.
Yeah, not all fucking day, and fuck you, Hefner. I'm just it's fucking 12 o'clock. I'm in pajamas. You can all suck a dick.
I am dressed up nice because it is the Jewish High Holy Days. So this is just a clusterfuck that is appropriate of the Froopy Land episode.
If I'm paying tribute to goddamn anything, it's fucking Evangelion.
Yeah, that is true. I don't know. I just when you say you've got a robe, I just imagine Hugh Hefner.
Yeah. Fuck you.
All right, so let's get into the meat because we didn't really discuss this talking about the episode, but I love this episode. You were not of that opinion, though, good old Zavul. And I think I'm going to take a guess as to why you weren't a huge fan of the ABCs of Beth. Is that you thought the Beth is a sociopath thing wasn't earned enough?
Yeah, that felt kind of weird. There have been some obvious indications that Beth is a little bit of a terrible narcissist like her father, but there's no indication that she was a little serial killer in the making. No indication of that. Nope. That's never come up before.
Okay, you mentioned that right now, but okay, there was wanting to be an animal surgeon, wanting to dissect and cut up animals. Her making that creepy little animal sculpture.
The horse hoof sculpture.
Okay. The horse hoof sculpture is okay. I might have to buy that a little bit.
I mean, on some levels, I can sort of understand that argument. Out of all the characters of the core Smith family, Beth is probably the least developed. And you could say it's a little bit jump of the sharky, but I still think the development still makes her much more interesting than she was before this episode. Because originally she was just sort of the attractive mother figure that you see a lot in traditional animated family sitcoms.
Who hates her life and kind of seems like a drunk.
I'd be willing to buy she was a creepy child or she acted out a lot to try and get her father's attention. I would buy all that, but right about the point where it's I made you this sentient switchblade, and and you kept killing the neighbor children, and all this other.
Hey, she didn't kill them. She just almost kind of might have. Well, you could say that stems from the sort of fact that Rick was a terrible parent, and that it was her sort of need for affection and attention that as she was a child that every time that would something that would remind her of her dysfunctional family, that's what she would lash out at it.
I don't know. I just the level of just trying to build her up as a fucking Hannibal Lecter style figure that was just weird to me.
I still enjoyed, seeing her ultimate narcissism. And this was still, one of the most tightly written episodes of the entire season. Rick was just, had so many fucking great lines. And I just love the 2-minute sequence of all the fucking disturbing toys he made for her as a child.
For me, that's kind of what pushed it over. If they just had her just be a very unhappy child that acted out constantly and maybe just because she was a child and didn't understand the consequences, left this kid in there in Froopy Land, that I'd be willing to buy.
Maybe this is where Morty gets his violent tendencies. If you think about it like that, it's inherited from the mother. I mean, is it really going to be Jerry though? Jerry's just he's like a wet towel.
And actually, that's another good question. What do you think of the B storyline with fucking Jerry, rebounding with the fucking alien warrior princess?
It's a fun little escapade there. I love the children just like fucking lecturing Jerry, lecturing their dad, like, Dad, just grow a pair and solve this shit on your own.
Yeah, I mean that is probably the best I can say for the B episode. I wasn't hugely impressed, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it wasn't like the best thing, but I thought it was a good, solid B plot with like lots of, I also thought it was interesting that like Jerry, you always felt like Beth would be the person who would move on to another relationship first, but he beat her to the punch.
Yeah.
And of course, the sad, pathetic way that only Jerry could. But I got a kick out of that. We're like, we celebrate by going on the hunt,
and then more hunting.
Yes, afterwards. And then more hunting, and then just like them, like in a cave, like slaughtering predator creatures.
Actually, that looked like it was a reference to what was that movie? The movie with like cave spelunking.
No, like I don't think I know exactly what you're talking about. The Descent.
Yes. I thought that was a fun movie. It got the same kind of creatures design, so it feels like
they felt more like they had like the predator mandibles. I don't know if they were like Descent because they were supposed to be more alien, while those were like more earthbound, like fucking bat people versus like I feel like the cave design creatures are basically more predator like.
I do love the fact that whatever these things are clearly not evil.
They just want to live, just like little Tommy wants to live in his fucking kingdom of
Jesus Christ. Oh God, we gotta talk about that.
Fucking terrifying incest thing, and how Rick and Morty, like the series just doesn't even like treat it like a big reveal. Like Rick is already like 3 steps ahead of him.
Yeah. Oh God, the reveal was like the best part. With like, him trying to reveal it to them. Guess how I lived. And we're like,
we know.
They're like, we have a good idea. We really don't want to know.
How about a demonstration?
We're going to put on this fabulous play to demonstrate how I lived in Froopy Land.
And then just Rick being like, fuck it, I'm done. This doesn't count as an adventure. For an adventure, clearly I need Morty, I need stakes, and I need something that I want.
Like, honestly, I think the most fun that I had the entire episode was watching Rick explain why there was literally no danger in Froopy Land.
Okay,
screw you. I thought this episode was like great and fucking twisted, and also like another part of like a strong. So let's just jump to the scores. For me, this was like a solid 9. What is this, like a 7 for you, good old Zavo?
Yeah, mostly I'm just baffled as to why he would build like reproductive capabilities into like a magical dream world for his like 3-year-old daughter.
Well, yeah.
Maybe
I guess it's like one of those things that you're not supposed to think too much, and that it was like an element he didn't account for of like human DNA going into the like Froopy Land critters. And I also did love that like sequence where like Rick's like, oh shit, this really hurts. And he like murders the fucking pterodactyl creatures.
Yeah, that was like probably the second greatest moment of this episode, I feel, for me. Because like the first one was just like meeting the like actual Dave character and him being like this really sleazy guy who's just like grown up in this like really sheltered, bubbled world of like incest, like cannibalism, and with all these like supposedly innocent like child like creatures that were supposed to be for Beth. He's just like absolutely like raped the shit out of that whole fantasy and dream with this whole character. It's just like, I had sex with all these things, and then I ate the babies. It was just necessary.
Dan Harmon, like, how can I have the most gross thing possible? And you did it. You definitely outdid yourself there. Although I must admit, though, I did love the fact that Beth refused to apologize, just like Rick refused to apologize about building Froopy Land for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was also a nice little touch. Like, I think, the mother, no, not mother, but daughter father, dynamic between Rick and Beth became a lot stronger this episode.
Yeah.
Well, the one complaint I would give, though, is that, as great as Rick's speech about, the universe feeding the ordinary and, being smart and being able to try and ride the universe for your own purposes until it throws you off, I don't quite believe that, Beth is on the same level of smarts as Rick. She's, average person, regular person smart, not,
that was
cosmic genius smart.
That was also established, previously when Morty was just stop trying to fuddle with the ginormous machine, the machine that makes things bigger or whatever, and her letting loose the little people inside the machine too. She doesn't have the same level as wit as Rick, clearly, but she has a similar level of tenacity, I guess.
Yeah, she definitely has a similar level of stubbornness and narcissism.
Yeah.
But, it was definitely nice to see, her get her sort of, spotlight, finally, since, she's, the only one dimension. And sort of, and I did love that, choice where it's I can let you run wild and there'll be a clone who will attend to all your things. And something tells me that's going to pay off later on. Probably not this season, but in the future, there's going to be, Beth is going to get killed. But then, Beth Prime is going to come in and she's going to, come in from Cronenberg land and be a badass and save the day.
Well, that's an interesting twist.
I have to say, I am curious. So do you think that's actually Beth at the end of the episode?
I think it can go either way. You don't know. And it can go either way. And I think, if they have a good plot thread, it won't be the real Beth. And then the real Beth will come back into the story.
I don't think that was the real Beth, and I don't think that was the real Rick either. And... Let me tell you why I don't think it's the real Rick either. Because Rick's character trait, our Rick's character trait to distinguish himself from the other Ricks in the from the Citadel Ricks was that he always had that little drool dribbling from his mouth. But in the end scene,
not always.
Yeah, every time he mind switched with a different kind of Rick, he'd always have that little drool coming from his mouth to distinguish him from the other Ricks. But in the
That's an interesting theory. I don't know if it's right. It's always our Rick.
What do you mean you don't know if it's right? You just have to look at the clips and see. You just have to look at the episode again and see the detail that I'm talking about. Whenever he switches his mind, that's a signature trait to distinguish him from the other Ricks.
But what's the point of him not being our Rick? What does that do?
I think
theoretically, it allows him to be spending time with his daughter, but
exactly,
I don't know. That would require him to leave Morty, which he really hasn't been willing to do.
Yeah, it is funny that out of all of the attachments, Morty's the strongest out of all his irrational ones versus his own daughter. But Goro Gregoro, what would you rate this episode?
I guess it'd be somewhere in between where you guys rating it. I guess it'd be... It was an enjoyable episode for me. I'd give it an 8.
I thought you were going to give it an 8.5. I still thought it was a really strong episode and what's been a really strong season.
I mean, I really liked the whole Froopy Land guy. I guess the B storyline didn't really do that much for me. It was just kind of like, you know, Jerry being Jerry. It's like sad Jerry. And like him, like not really going through any kind of character growth.
No, it was him like there was the pretension of character growth in the sense that like he was moving on and like becoming slightly more adept in the fact that he got psychic powers and his like sad divorce apartment was like more put together. But of course, in his it was only through the most feeble Jerry ways that he was able to accomplish any of that.
Yeah.
It's in his like subtle racism. You're thinking that she should have a bag on her head, but I thought I taught you better than that.
Yeah. Oh God. And his fucking kids can see right through him, like from the very beginning. Like doesn't feel that much progression in terms of like their I don't know, of their understandings of each other, I guess.
Well, it's just Morty and Summer like giving him shit.
Yeah, like,
which is always kind of fun to see.
I mean, yeah, it is fun to see, but like, kind of wish like Jerry could like, I don't know, have a little bit of growth.
We'll see. I don't know. I mean, there's a part of you that wants him to not be a sad sack. Then that's kind of his defining trait. Give the poor guy like some win, and he kind of got like a backwards win, like a little bit of a win. Not a great win, but the best win that Jerry could ask for.
Yeah.
Well, maybe just not like a win, but like him to get like some repercussions, like for like his actions. Like it seemed like he kind of just like sleeked by, like skid by, like that whole situation from getting like that much worse. But the whole Deus Ex Machina solution at the end, like Morty's just like, you got a Deus Ex Machina, better take it. Man.
I still like it. Like even where like the show goes out of its way to like point like to hackneyed like writing tropes to, and then the messaging machine at the end.
Yeah, Rick's like, hey, I just killed that space alien that was trying to kill you. Looking out for you, man.
Oh, and I also slept with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, Rick, always with the spite. All right, so I think we've given our scores, we've given our thoughts. In a few days, like when the season finale, we'll have to see if Dan Harmon like pulls out the stops like the season 1 and season 2 finale. We have high expectations. And for the shilling, we're gonna do Tickle Me Elmo.
Tickle You Elmo. Oh God. Okay.
Sure. I don't think I need to explain why that corresponds with this episode, but I think it speaks for itself. So go relive the past and get your own Tickle Me Elmo and relive Froopy Land, or don't relive Froopy Land, or relive Froopy Land in the way it was meant to be. And, just don't
don't try and reproduce with Tickle Me Elmo.
Yeah, and don't knock don't knock Tommy into the honey. just leave him out of it. Just leave him out of it.
Jesus Christ.
All right. So thank you for whatchamacallit. Watching this video. Give us the comments. Hopefully the audio isn't too terrible. It's kind of like a little iffy here and there. Oh, there. So yeah, again, thank you for your time, and remember, lobsters and antennas, but don't you grab it.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Lobsters made of light.